Vintage science fiction pulp magazines. Hi, I'm Gary Lovisi, and this time we're going to take a look at these pulp magazines, a group of them from my collection that I thought you'd enjoy seeing. They have great cover art, good girl, sexy girl cover art from the classic pulp era, and they're drawn by classic artists, and they have great stories by all the classic science fiction writers of the era of the 40s, 50s, and 50s. And we're going to take a look at them now. So we're just going to do a quick look. And the first one we have is Thrilling Wonder Stories from December 1949. And it's got some good stories in it, good authors. James Blish, Murray Leinster, Raymond F. Jones. And I'm not going to go through page by page, but I just want to give an idea of some of there's Arthur C. Clarke and Ray Bradbury, L. Sprague de Camp. It's a who's who of science fiction writers. The Arthur C. Clarke is on 106. I just want to, there's William Morrison, Skin Dupe. 106 is the Arthur C. Clarke, 30 Seconds, 30 Days. The Ray Bradbury is on page 59. These are all original stories that appeared in the pulps, and just terrific. Can't find the page. Okay, here we go. A Blade of Grass by Ray Bradbury. Robot scientist Ultar discovers protoplasm. That's one of them. The next one is Thrilling Wonder Stories with Pie in the Sky by Frederick Brown and Fog Over Venus by Arthur K. Barnes. And this is from winter of 1945, Thrilling Wonder. Startling Stories, this is from spring 1946, contains The Dimension of Chance, a Hall of Fame classic. This is a reprint by Clark Ashton Smith, and also an original story by Polton Cross, The Eyes Watching, and that's John Russell Fern. These are beautiful magazines. Some of them are in better condition than others. There's a few I'm going to open up and show you. Famous Fantastic Mysteries was one of the reprint magazines that was available in the 40s. This is June 1945. A lot of the covers, I don't think this one is, but a lot of them were by a lot of famous
Virgil Finlay.
Virgil Finlay is who I'm trying to think of. Yeah, and this is the boats of the Glencarrig by William Hope Hodgson, and that's from Famous Fantastic Mysteries. They reprinted all the great stories of the before the 1930s and 40s. Amazing Stories, February 1949. The Insane Planet, the world where even trees went mad, and that's by Alexander Blade. Alexander Blade was actually Howard Brown, who was the editor of Amazing Stories. And
is he the guy who didn't like science fiction?
He's the guy who wrote great crime stories as John Evans, the Paul Pine series, and loved Raymond Chandler, and wrote books in the Chandler and also in the James M. Cain mode, the style of hard-boiled crime and noir. But he didn't really like science fiction. But he had a job as an editor of Amazing Stories, and he edited the stories, and he wrote some really good science fiction adventure, pulp adventure for Amazing Stories and other magazines, pulp magazines of the era. There's another Amazing Stories published by Ziff Davis. This was April 1952. That's interesting. That's when I was born. This magazine came out when I was born, and it's The Golden Gods by John Bloodstone. Really cool cover. And cover by Barry Phillips. This is a early Barry Phillips pulp magazine painting, who would go on later to do many, and maybe some people even think too many paperback covers. This is the Amazing Stories for October 1952.
That looks like Walter Pop.
And this is by, the artwork is by Walter Pop, and this is his wife Marie. And he Played with Dolls by William P. McGivern. McGivern wrote science fiction, but he was a really, really good hard-boiled crime author. And then there's A Shadow on the Moon by Joe Gibson. I don't know who that author is, but I really love the Walter Pop classic pulp art on this Amazing Stories. It's beautiful, simply beautiful. And that's Marie, his wife. Next one is Fantastic Story Quarterly. This is from the winter of, I can't read it on the sign, so it's the winter of sometime. But the thing is, there's some good stuff in it. It's a great cover art. I don't know who did it, but it's really, really nice. It's got Enslaved Brains by Ian Binder, and then The Amazing Planet by Clark Ashton Smith, which is a reprint. And it has a story by Eric Frank Russell, who I really, really love, but unfortunately we have a little bit of damage on the cover there, so that takes that out. These pulps are very delicate. They're really, really, really delicate, and they bruise easily. This is Amazing Stories, July 1948 issue, and this is interesting. The July 1948 issue, this is the May 11th, 1948. This is the received stamp. All the newsstands would, when they got magazines in, they would have them for a month or two on the stands. They would immediately, when they get them in, before they put them out, they would stamp a received date on them. So this is when they got the magazine in the store or wherever they're selling it. And then, of course, it's July 1948. So by July 1948, by July, so it was May, June, July, then it would go off sale and it would be returned. Nice striking cover. It's a beautiful issue. Astonishing Stories was another really cool pulp. This one is from February 1943. A lot of these, I'm going to have a few of these Astonishings that are really nice. They're from the war years, and this is just great. It Happened Tomorrow by Robert Bloch, and The Halfling by Lee Brackett. The Halfling was, I believe it was a half of an Ace double, and then published by, reprinted by Ace later on. So this is at least two great classic authors with classic stories in this issue, and beautiful cover art. Really very interesting. Next one is Astonishing Stories from October 1942. And again, this is 1942, really early in World War II. Here's the United We Stand American flag, because we were fighting in World War II at that time. And the thing is that a lot of these magazines were taken up in the paper drives of the early 40s. It was a patriotic thing where people would get newspapers, pulp magazines, other magazines, paperback books, everything, and they would, read them, and then they would donate them to the paper drives. And in this issue, we've got Thunder in the Void by Henry Kuttner, and The Vortex Blaster Makes War by E.E. Doc Smith. And that's one of the, it's the last story in the Lensman series. And you have some really great authors in here. I mean, Henry Kuttner, Doc Smith, Neil R. Jones, Doomsday on Age-8, which was one of the novels in the Zoran series. Walter Kublius, who's kind of forgotten today, but was a very popular writer in those days. Pearson and Gilbert, I'm not too sure about. Excuse me. And Ray Cummings, of course. And the cover was by Leo Morey. But it had illustrations by Lawrence Morey and other his Thunder in the Void. Nice illustration. Here you go, Doc Smith. The Vortex Blaster Makes War. And just great opening. This was the 7th book in the Lensman series. Really kind of not really a lens. It's set in the Lensman universe, but it's great science fiction, pulp space opera, and a lot of fun. Let's see if I can find one of the other stories. The Eternal Quest, Joseph Gilbert. Beautiful artwork. And this is a really nice copy pulp. You don't see this kind of the white pages like this. This is a pulp from 1942. So it's like 80 years old, and the pages are still, pretty white. So it's really nice. And regard the Black Planet, this is Super Science Stories ad for 20 cents. It was on sale everywhere in September 1942. And that's Leo Morey's cover for The Vortex Blaster Makes War. April 1943, Astonishing Stories again. Land of No Return by Nelson Bond. Outpost of the Eons by Dirk Wiley, who was also a popular science fiction writer in those days. And it's kind of forgotten today. And then Forever Tomorrow by Cleve Cartmill. Again, Dirk Wiley, Nelson S. Bond. There's a Ray Bradbury story. Bob Tucker, early story. And the pages are... This pulp paper is very thick, and it's hard to kind of grab the pages to do it delicately, because they are delicate and you don't want to destroy anything. But the full page illustrations are just terrific. I mean, they're just wonderful. And I just want to show you one thing here is Subterfuge by Ray Bradbury with a Hannes Bach illustration. So that's Subterfuge, early Ray Bradbury story in Astonishing Stories. Next one is from September 1941, right before we entered World War II, is Astonishing Stories. And it has Henry Haas, Farewell to Fuzzies, Isaac Asimov, Super Neutron, Russ Winterbottom, Basil Wells, who I knew, who was a retired science fiction writer who lived in Florida. He was a really, really nice guy. And I even published some of his material. And Frank Belknap Long, and of course James Blish. I'm going to show you the Azimuth Stories, page 36. I just want to show you that.
Was H.B.
Yeah, I'm going to say something about that, which is going to be very interesting. Don't let me get ahead of myself. I can't. Inquiring minds, yeah. I feel like there's somebody standing behind me asking me questions. Okay, and here's the early Isaac Asimov story, Super Neutron. This is from 1941. Now, an interesting thing here for science fiction scholars and readers is this story by Henry Haas. Now, this is 1941. Farewell to Fuzzies. Fuzzies had been Wilson's only friends for 6 months. Their lives, it seemed, meant more to him than his own. So this guy, Craig Wilson, nice illustration, and you see the Fuzzies. Now, if you're at all familiar with H. Beam Piper's Little Fuzzy, okay, very similar. And the interesting thing is that these cute, adorable fuzzy creatures that are friends of Craig Wilson, which were in the H. Beam Piper, it was Papa, I forgot his name, or it was the friend of the Fuzzies. The interesting thing, not only are they called Fuzzies here, but one of the things about that Craig Wilson is trying to determine is, are the Fuzzies, are they human or are they animals? And that is the basic background story for the novel Little Fuzzy by H. Beam Piper. I think H. Beam Piper may have read this at one time, perhaps, and maybe had some idea from it, or maybe not. We don't know, but it's definitely something that's I think, is interesting story, and it's worthy of further investigation. So here's Farewell to Fuzzies by Henry Haas.
I've drawn my conclusion.
In Astonishing Stories for September of 1941, before even World War II started in the United States. What's your conclusion? Voice from behind. No? Startling Stories, January 1947. A lot of these covers have, some of them Startling Stories and thrilling. They have Bergay and Belarski covers. I don't know if this is or not. I don't think so. But it does have The Star of Life, an amazing complete novel by Edmund Hamilton, who was the creator of Captain Future and so much more action, adventure, pulp science fiction. Next one is a little different. Ghost Detective, kind of the Magician Sleuth. It's really a crime story, crime pulp, but it does say ghost, and I figured I'd put it in with the science fiction. Next one is Amazing Stories from April 1948. Great cover art. Giant bug creature, whatever it is, and spider or something.
It's a web, so it's a spider.
Yeah, spider, I guess. Yeah, with the guy and the girl in a plane. And it's The Monster from Mars by Alexander Blade. Again, another Howard Brown story. So there's Emmett McDowell and Barclay Livingston. There's different Rog Phillips, some names that you'll recognize, but most of them not so much, because this was Amazing was a magazine that really didn't have the money to pay the authors, the big authors. This is edited by Raymond A. Palmer, but Howard Brown was editor for a while. William Hamling was the managing editor. Malcolm Smith was the art director. I don't know if he did this cover. It's a nice copy. Here's the opening for The Monsters from Mars. A saucer-like craft crashed into the jungle. It was obviously from another world and must be investigated. Harrison, the tough guy investigator, probably. Some more nice artwork. They illustrated these stories really well. Really nice work. And this problem is that pulp cover art is very expensive and much sought after. It does show up from time to time, but usually it's secreted in people's collections. But some of this interior artwork is really nice too. And it's a shame that doesn't show up as much as it should. Trying to find, okay, some more kind of strange art for that. Drink Like a Fish. Secret of the Robot by Guy Archett. That's a really nice piece of work, nice piece of artwork. And let me just see if I can find The Man in the Moon by Lester Barclay.
Like Dracula.
Yeah, it does, yeah. He had to obey the command to kill. You had to wind the doll to make it walk. But what was it that made it talk? Then it began to walk without winding. Sounds like a Twilight Zone kind of story. There's a little more artwork, very kind of classical. Well, that's it for this look at at classic science fiction pulp magazines. I hope you enjoyed it. I love these magazines. I think they're really cool. The cover art is terrific. It's sexy. It's adventure. It's action, and a lot of surprisingly good writers. You find a lot of surprises in these issues of stories by well-known great writers that became legends like Ray Bradbury and Arthur C. Clarke and many, many others. So hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, give us a thumbs up and a like, share with your friends, and we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.